blessings. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Just waiting a moment. Conversation today is about feminine, masculine energy and that balance. Peace. How you doing? One who knows their path. I love that handle. Give thanks. All right, so let me see if I can. Oh, yes. Where are you based? I would love for you to take my yoga class. And you know, I'm gonna get back virtual, doing classes virtually. So stay tuned. Peace and blessings, Jessica, the girl, Philly. All right, Philly, man. I went to Philly a couple of years ago with the intention to go to this raw food restaurant, and it was so fly because after we went there, my king and I were walking down the road like trying to see what we're gonna do. We drove like 2.5 hours or so, and we found this jazz spot. We had so much fun that day. My goodness. Yes, so I was teaching virtually, and I still do offer virtual private classes. I haven't been offering the weekly classes virtually lately, but I will be doing that. So peace and blessings, Brother Spry. Welcome, welcome. So I'm trying to do this thing to pin the topic, which is feminine and masculine balance. So right now, yay. Yes, please send me your email so I can add you to my list. And if you haven't done so already, check my website, fruitsoflifeyoga.com. And when you sign up through there, you will get, how do you pin? Oh, pin comment. Boom. Yeah. Yay, I did it. When you subscribe to my mailing list, you will get a free guided meditation, affirming meditation in your inbox. So all right, so welcome those that are here. I appreciate you spending some time with me. So I'm first gonna make a confession. I lied last week. I said I was gonna let you know in advance when I was gonna go live, and clearly that didn't happen. And so peace. Welcome, Sister Fame. Welcome. SJ Sweets. So I didn't tell you in advance, so I apologize. I'm a work in progress. I've had issues with commitment in the past. I think they root from my daddy. So I'm working on myself. Indeed. Blessed rising, blessed uprising. Give thanks and praises. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you all here. I appreciate your energy and your time so much. Blessings. So I'm gonna work on that, just letting you know in advance. So I thank you for jumping on. So I wanted to do this earlier. My youngest son woke up, nursing and all of that, and I had to take care of some household things. My husband came home from a workout this morning, so I had to hook him up with his smoothie, sweep the floor in the kitchen and the living room and all of that. Our very what's it called, like our common areas that are definitely trampled through. We really go through our living room, dining room, and kitchen up in here, especially with the older children home doing virtual school. So I had a little delay this morning, but right now my eldest has a break, and he offered to stay with my youngest. So the masculine and feminine energy is definitely functioning in reality right here and right now, so that I can come and be present with you and give you my undivided attention. So grab your tea, your journal if you would like to, or get comfortable. I'm gonna share a couple of things, some words out of Sacred Pampering Principles by Debrina Jackson Gandhi. I read this a while ago, and I just pulled it up the other day, and something came out, and I'm like, you know what? Let me share a little bit out of this book. But before that, I want to preface this reasoning about masculine and feminine energy by stating some things that you might already know about me, right? I'm a mom of 3 boys, right? I am a daughter, right? And I have 2 older brothers and 3 younger brothers. I am a wife. um, Clearly, I'm a sister. I don't have any sisters. So I've been around masculine energy a lot throughout my personal life experience. I've been around women who have raised their children, raised their families as single women, and I have had some experience around married, united couples. Now, I want to say all of that because I feel that those experiences have something to do and they have a place. Obviously, what we go through, what we experience, offers a worldview, a perspective, right? And sometimes we move away from that foundation and sometimes we stay with it or return to it. But since folks have to identify themselves, I definitely identify myself as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. Now, these are elements of my being, right? In essence, my essence, all of our essences are is spirit, right? And so, before I proceed, I want to take a moment to just take maybe 3 cleansing breaths to ground myself, right? And to ground you into this conversation. Because I might say some things that might not rub you well, but it's like a gentle, my intention is to, come gentle, like a massage that might not feel good sometimes in those trigger points, but in essence, do feel good in the long run and the consistency of the effort. So let's just pause for a moment. Maybe close our eyes. I know last session I did this toward the end, but I'm going to do a little grounding, breathing in the beginning. So feel free to join me. So the cleansing breath. Inhale through the nose. Allow the belly to expand. Hold at the height of that inhalation. And exhale through the nose. And hold. Actually, that was the rule of 4. I automatically went into it, but let's do the cleansing breath where we exhale through the mouth. So let's rewind again. Inhale through the nose, filling ourselves with abundance, life, and possibility. Hold for a moment. And exhale through the mouth. Emptying what doesn't serve, releasing what does not serve, and even expectation. Hold. Inhale through the nose. Hold for a moment at the height of the inhalation. And exhale through the mouth. Release any inhibition, any heaviness, and any burden. Hold. Inhale for one more cleansing breath. Hold. And exhale. Hold. And now breathe comfortably. Blink your eyes open if your eyes are closed. Welcome, welcome for those that joined me. So the conversation is about balancing masculine and feminine energy. And as I said, I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. These are attributes. I'm a sister. And I've been around a lot of masculine energy. I'm going to begin by sharing out of Sacred Pampering Principles, and I'm going to come in and out of this book, right? This is the section that focuses on Sacred pampering principle for the spirit. Oh, wait, am I right? No, 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 that's not correct. That's the one right before, right? This is a sacred pampering principle for the spirit, number 8, tapping the goddess within. Okay, so brothers that are on and are listening and are watching, this is for you too, okay? But as a woman, I am speaking through the feminine vessel. So it says, we can learn a lot about ourselves from examining our indigenous African spirituality. A common trait you will notice that also runs through other ancient indigenous cultures of color is that both the masculine and the feminine aspects of the creator are acknowledged and represented in the language and images. The male and female principles show up in the ancient Chinese concept of yang and yin, or yang and yin. The goddess Shakti and the god Shiva in the Hindu culture, Asar and Aset in the Kemetic culture or Egyptian Kemetic culture, Father Sky and Mother Earth in the Native American cultures, and the male and female Orishas of the West African Yoruba religion. So, because I live in the Western Hemisphere, and many of you that are joined with me today are in the Western Hemisphere, we've received indoctrination and colonization and a whole lot of information and education that comes from a very patriarchal perspective, where the male is is basically honored more than the female. The masculine is honored more than the female, and there is this idea, even through the concepts of God, we know this already through religion, through Christianity, Catholicism, through Western cultures, there is this, a masculine vibe to it. And oftentimes this masculine vibe brings with it, often like a dehumanizing result or aftermath imposed upon the female principle. It's like the woman hasn't been. We're moving into a different time and space now, but there's a whole lot of uprooting that has to take place to, place the queen, the goddess, into her rightful space. So even as a woman, sometimes we have bought in to being over masculinized, and we exhibit qualities that are masculine over feminine. And there's this idea that femininity and the qualities of femininity are represent weakness. And I want to address, today some of that. Okay, and I wrote little kind of notes for myself so I can make sure I stay on point, right? So moving on, like, there is this aspect of ourselves that needs to be nurtured a little bit more, and even the quality of nurturing that is a feminine quality. We need to spend more time cultivating our softness and knowing that within that there is a lot of strength. So for example, this concept of Pachamama, right? Speaking of, of the earth, right? The earth nurtures and feeds her children, and in turn, her children take care of her. So that is like a basic principle, So by we nurturing ourselves, by we nurturing those around us are able to take care of us, okay? And we're gonna come back to that when I speak a little bit more about my personal experience, right? So now the idea or the feminine principle is usually characterized by the sun, right? And this is a symbol that represents creation and sustenance, right? And growth even, right? And like the maintenance of the life cycle, like Kepra, for example, within the Kemetic practice. It's like, this dung beetle is rolling its dung across, allowing the sun to rise, a new day to come, so there can be life again. There could be birth through, this dung being buried into the earth, and then there being more life that comes from it. So there's this concept of creation, right? And obviously we have a womb and we bring forward life. We cultivate and we bring forward life throughout the womb. So because we have had experiences from the West, and the West has imposed upon the world, right? There has been this out of balance culturally, right? Historically, and it translates personally, right? Spiritually, we still suffer the trauma of our ancestors, right? And it takes time. It has these colonized, oh man, so much colonization and enslavement has taken place over such a long time. Even though it was such a long time ago, there's a certain uprooting that has to take place so that we can show up in balance, right? And remember that indigenous spirituality where there's a balance between the two. Okay. So I want to share something else from the laws of Tahuti, right, which are also known as the Hermetic principles. There are seven, one of which represents gender, and it states that there is gender in all things. There's feminine and masculine in all things. It appears in all planes of existence. And I say that because, yes, there's been this over masculinization within culture and history and education and misinformation, right? And that shows up in our relationships, and that's the key, right? Trying to uproot a lot of that so that we can show up balanced in our relationship to ourselves and our relationship to others. Okay. And that is a journey. That's been a journey for me. As I said earlier, like I've been around a lot of masculine energy. I raised my first two sons as a single mother, and being in that space, I felt that I had to exert a whole lot of a whole lot of masculine energy for my children, because I had this misconception that if I showed up in that way, right, in a masculine way, forceful and the disciplinarian, you know what I mean? Like they would receive what they need when I felt it wasn't balanced on the other side. So let me speak a little bit to that. Let me speak a little bit to the different qualities, right? So qualities of a goddess, right? Of the feminine principle out of the sacred pampering, out of the Sacred Pampering Principles by Debrina Jackson Gandhi. She speaks to what represents the goddess, right? The goddess principle, the feminine divine. She says, the central qualities of the goddess are represented by openness, softness, contemplation, nurturing, feeling, receiving, listening, intuition, poise, tranquility, gracefulness, composure, rest, and knowing. The God energy, the masculine energy, is represented by activity, achieving, thinking, speaking, reason, action, and doing. She continues to say, our over masculinization shows up in many ways: being too loud, hard, forceful, mean, dominating, and controlling. You'll notice that Western culture's values as a whole lean heavily toward masculine approaches and styles. We've been stuck in a mode and a mindset that suppresses the goddess energy, and it is time to return to a state of balance. And so, let me ask you a question. So this could be a little more interactive, right? Peace and blessings for joining. So what aspects of those qualities kind of resonate more with you? What aspects, which qualities do you find outshine mostly in your personal experience? Be you female or male? What aspects, kind of highlight more of your personality, right? Do you find yourself receiving? Do you find yourself being listening well? Do you find yourself being soft and gentle, or the opposite? Do you find yourself being hard and loud? So do you find yourself overthinking, right? Or do you find yourself balanced? Do you find both? Now, most people have both. We all have both because masculine and feminine appear in all things. So the goal, though, is to find a balance between the two, right? So let me know, is something outshining more than the others for you, right? For me, what outshined more than others is definitely being loud and controlling. My mother could tell you that. Okay. Um, I felt that I needed to assert myself. Now, there's a as there the people. Some folks are just assertive, right? There's certain parts of ourselves that just are the way they are, right? Are assertive, are leaders, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a wonderful thing. But now, if we are in a relationship and as a woman, and we have a tendency to lead, right? And we do not allow our man, our husband, our king to assume his role to lead, right? Then we are imbalanced, and our relationship then suffers the imbalance because we can demasculate. Oh my God, we could what's the word? Demasculate. Oh my gosh. Emasculate, thank you. We can emasculate our man by showing up with too much masculine energy. I got all caught up in my tongue right there, And I'll be honest, when in my earlier relationships, when I felt that I was disrespected is when I would exert a whole lot of masculine energy, right? I thought by being loud, and by cursing a lot, and by just being really forceful with my energy, imposing myself, right? I felt that I could get my way, or I could reach my man or get what I needed. And unfortunately, or rather now fortunately, as I've learned over the years, I realized that that just was an ingredient that contributed to a toxic relationship, because and I'm attracted to alpha men. A man cannot function in its fullness in that way, right? So I'm gonna pause for a minute and just gonna read this right here. Peace, sister. And Grace Herbal Infusion says, I find myself having both now more than a few months. Very hard not allowing my king to lead. Listen, I'm not sure if you said that before I commented. I think you did. But it is perfectly fine to be soft, right? To allow our men to lead. It doesn't make a woman less than, right? There have been plenty women throughout history and even to this day who lead, right? What we want to uplift our men as we want to be uplifted, right? We want them to cater to us as women. And my husband says, like, you can get more with honey, right? Like, you just got to know your man. You got to know, like, what he likes, right? So, like, let me help you help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me serve you, or I will serve you, because I like to be served, right? I like to receive, and as my essence, coming into that space of being open enough to receive, right? There's this balance again of giving. So I'll give you an example. I cook every day. Cook for my husband every day. Sometimes I don't like it. I'll be honest. I'll be like, dang, I just want to go out to eat, But his favorite restaurant, which is cool, right? It's lovely. So I serve him. I serve his plate. I get a little snooty sometimes because I'm like, oh, you want seconds? Go ahead, you can dish out your seconds, right? So I still need work. Like, okay, I served you the first time. You could serve your second plate, right? I'm eating now. So I need work. I ain't even gonna lie. But I serve him. You know what I mean? And I kind of I like that because I know that he looks forward to be served. And when I need something or when I want something, like, I have no problems. receiving, and my king has no problem providing, because there's a balance there, like giving and receiving. So I'll take care of him. I'll nurture him. I'll feed him, right? I'll tend to him. And likewise, he'll tend to me. And sometimes women, especially nowadays, now I'm a little old school. That's why I had a preface with my background. I'm a little old school, I've seen my mother and my aunts pack food for their husbands so they could go off to work. That's my foundation, right? And I don't have a problem doing that for my man, especially with an understanding and with an appreciation. When I know that he appreciates it, when I know that he looks forward to it, and when I know that when I want something, I'm going to get it. He's going to make sure my car is running well. He's going to make sure, I have all the ingredients I need. You know what I'm saying? He's going to make sure, he's going to check for me. Check for me. Right? Let me see who else says something over here. As a mother, I found me trying to be aggressive to guide my son. Listen, you just touched on something right there. Okay, you just touched on something right there, and I thank you for being active in this conversation, my sister, and Grace Herbal Infusions, my sister Corinne. With my first two children, I was really aggressive. They'll tell you that. You know what I mean? I'll get in plank. You know what I mean? Hold it. Like hardcore, like boot camp. Okay, I ain't even gonna lie. All right. So I was really aggressive because I was absolutely not in tune with my feminine nature, and I was dealing with a whole lot of anger. I was dealing with toxic relationships. I was dealing with a lot of disrespect toward me, even all the efforts I was bringing forward to raise my children, plant-based and natural, and educate them with a strong foundation and knowledge of self, and not being appreciated. And not being appreciated made me sometimes see my older children's father in them. And when I saw that, I would be triggered. Okay, so sometimes we have to check where the aggression is coming from. Sometimes we need to take a back seat too. I realize I don't like to be told what to do, but I have found that I could receive it a little better than I used to back in the day. Okay, I could be like, okay. Let what my man says, what my husband says, kind of marinate in my brain a little bit, and I have to work on this part. Coming to him and saying, you know what, you were right about that. I apologize. You had a point. I should not have offered to pay for my son's retake of his driving tests, because he did fail and he does need to feel it. That's true. So, and to step up and apologize and to honor, his leadership, I think takes a lot of women. It takes a whole lot of women to honor a man's leadership. Because, what's the saying? Behind a strong man is a strong woman, right? Like, we prepare them before they leave the home. Okay, we equip them, and then we receive them when they come back home so that they could regenerate. And we all got to work on it. Trust me, at the end of the day, everybody's spent. I got to check my little attitude sometimes at the end of the day, because I know he's had a hard day, out there in the wilderness. And I've had a challenging day, doing what I need to with taking care of my responsibilities. So when we meet, it's like, ooh, there's a little tension. So one thing that I think is useful and helpful and I need to work on, and I think the sister, from what I have heard, because I haven't experienced it personally, Sister Sage, the goddess, Godsis, addresses that, how to cultivate balance within your relationship, so that there are certain rituals that you can practice to help release that tension when you come together, right? Growing through it, not going through it. Yeah, we definitely is a growth. It is definitely a growth process. So we want to notice these experiences, these attributes that overcompensate. That's the word that just was kind of, revealed into my heart right now. We overcompensate sometimes. Sometimes we haven't had experiences, um, positive experiences of other women and how to show up in relationships, right? Sometimes we don't have the experience of, how to allow the man to lead, sometimes we don't have that. Or sometimes we don't have even our father figures in our lives to watch our mother take care of him a certain way, you know? And when we return to culture and an understanding of culture, oftentimes our men were removed from us, taken away from us, you know, through colonialism, through enslavement, through war, you know what I mean? And we still suffer the ramifications of all of that. So let's address indicators. Like, how do we know that we're out of balance? And we're just going to return to the book because I could just go on and I don't need to get all personal like that. Okay. Say. So what are the indicators that your feminine energies may be suppressed and out of balance? Here are a few. Incessant busyness, lack of thorough and adequate rest, anger toward men, blaming men for your feelings of powerlessness, the strong black woman syndrome, being overly self sufficient, not allowing contribution or assistance from others, steadily giving, not receiving, a sharp tongue, harsh words, loud talking, cursing. So, what's the one? Okay, being overly self sufficient. Now, self sufficiency is vital. Self sufficiency is vital. Like, we all need to have this foundation of being self sufficient. But now, when we're in a relationship and we come with this energy like, I don't need you, right? That's not gonna work. I mean, when you have to do it on your own, you got to step up and do it on your own. I've been there, okay? But when you have a partner, when you have someone who's there to rock with you, to ride with you, they don't need that. And it is not conducive to come with that kind of energy, right? Yeah, I appreciate you and I thank you for your contribution. I do need you and you need me too. You know what I'm saying? We need each other. That's how we balance each other out. You know what I mean? That's how we find balance in ourselves in our relationship. Finding that softness and a little bit of that, the need, and the receive, right? My husband needs me to be healthy and strong. I need him to be able to be there for my family, my children, without the stress and necessity to be out and grind and try to balance career and married life and home life and raising my children, to be actively present in my children's lives. I need my husband to be present to allow me the balance to provide for us to be able to do that, So like I said, I'm a little old school and I don't got no problem saying that. When it comes to this strong black woman syndrome, yeah, you're strong. Nobody said you're not strong, but that doesn't mean that we can't, like, nobody's trying to take away your strength by being graceful. By we being graceful does not take away any strength. It doesn't take away our power, right? It doesn't take away our role. And our role is powerful. I mean, to uplift the nation, like, our role is powerful. To raise our children into God's kings and leaders, that's a powerful position. Like, don't get it twisted. Our role is valuable and vital. Okay? Like, absolutely vital. Okay? There ain't nothing weak about giving birth. I did it 3 times naturally. Blessings, my brother. Welcome. Ethiopian Donguru. I love that Donguru piece for sure. But there is nothing weak about the feminine divine. You know what I mean? Like we hold things together, right? We hold it together. Um, and that having that masculine divine to also hold things together, like that's how my art is maintained, that's how balance is maintained, by both of us making that contribution to maintain order and life, regeneration, okay, maintain creation. Like we're both needed and our roles are very vital, right? So for women, right, when we suppress our feminine energies, things manifest in our bodies as disease. So Sister Debrina mentions a few things. So I'm going to just share a little bit out of here. Diseases that's okay. The suppression of our feminine energies also manifests in our bodies as diseases that centralize in our female organs. When the feminine aspects of our being are not expressed outwardly, they become suppressed, turn negative, and seek expression inwardly. Denial of our Denial of the feminine aspects of yourself can lead to the harboring of negative, toxic thoughts and emotions. Deeply buried self hatred and resentment of others, especially men, can start to build. These negative, suppressed energies continue to put stress on your system until they implode like a shaken bottle of soda. Accumulated negative energies weaken your system and create vulnerabilities within it. And for black women, our most weakened areas tend to be our feminine organs: breasts, ovaries, vagina, uterus, and cervix. When the implosion occurs, our feminine organs manifest disease, usually in the form of cancer, fibroids, or cysts. Notice how the incidence of cancer of the cervix, breasts, and uterus has sharply risen in the last decade among black women. And the occurrence of ovarian or uterine cysts and fibroids has been on the rapid increase as well. It is time for us to soften up and allow our feminine energies to emerge. Goddess energy is neither inferior nor superior to God energy. It is a balancing complement to it. Self-care is a way to bring your masculine and feminine energies back into balance. So, yeah, that's interesting. So we know this. We have suffered, our loved ones have suffered different illnesses, diseases as it relates to our body, our breasts, our womb, right? And we hold a whole lot in those spaces, even if we've come through those situations. And so it's like when we experience things on a physical level, it is indicative of what's going on the spiritual, right? Spiritual, emotional. So that hardness, right? That resentment. And when I read that, I had to say, oh, wow, like I got to check myself a little bit because I didn't realize how much how much of an impact my relationship with my father had on me as a grown woman. And I didn't realize how much of an impact that relationship had on my relationships as well. So when I realized that, I held on to some resentment, and also my personal relationships, had led me to hold on to resentment as well. And I had to check myself and really address the condition of the womb. Now, thankfully, I have not suffered any, fibroids or, any conditions with my breasts, my ovaries, or any of my female organs. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm also thankful for the work that Queen Afua does, because she definitely has contributed a whole lot of time and resources and energy into healing the woman and healing the womb, the seat of creation. So dealing with that, not looking at, not addressing the root of how we show up, right? If we find ourselves, so not addressing how we show up, the root of how we show up will not enable us the possibility and the benefit, the opportunity to clear the weeds out of our garden and to take a beautiful, strong look at ourselves, and be able to return to our feminine divine nature. And like I said earlier, that feminine divine nature is all encompassing. Like, it's it's the sustenance of life itself, right? Um, so I encourage you to take a moment to assess. I think that's the first step, assessing, taking a look at oneself. When we're confronted with a challenge, or a distasteful situation or conversation, how do we respond? Do we react intensely, argumentatively, sharply with our tongue? Are we on the defensive? Are you on the defensive? Are you sharp with your tongue? Are you harsh? Are you domineering? Okay. Ask yourself the kinds of questions that will help assess whether you are exerting more feminine or more masculine energy. Now, if you find that you are exerting more masculine energy, then I would encourage you to take a moment and to notice what women in your life exert a lot of feminine qualities. Now, I'm like a boots type person, you know. I'm like a little rugged and rough around the edges, so I'm working on my feminine nature, as I mentioned. So it's helpful to find women in your life or just in earth, right? That welcome natural roots hair care. It is vital to find women that emulate the qualities that you would like to take on and incorporate more in your personal expression, right? And once you do that, once you identify the qualities and the women that exhibit these qualities, just surround yourself with that energy some more, like make yourself more aware of where you can imprint or incorporate more softness. Is it with your children? Okay. So the sister Corinne mentioned earlier that she has often been rather aggressive toward her children, toward her son. And I agree that I too have been that way. So I find that I can be stern, but I don't have to be a drill sergeant anymore necessarily. I can be I can be affirmative. I can discipline, but I don't have to, be as harsh as I was before. I find that I could communicate a lot better, which is still a work in progress, but I could definitely communicate a lot better. And sometimes I had to really speak to, especially my eldest child, I had to speak to him in a way that was open. I had to really apologize to him too for having been, so rough sometimes, because I didn't know any better, because I didn't have the example, because I was so stressed out, because I was experiencing I was depressed. I was disappointed. I was upset. I was going through a lot. And that doesn't justify imposing our authority in a forceful manner over our children. But, when you recognize and check yourself, like I said, within the relationship, it's good to acknowledge. And we're still working on that. We're definitely still working on that. So the goal, though, is to find balance within the self so that your heart can be light. If you find that there is tension in your heart during or after an interaction that tends to be or seemed to be a forceful experience, then you that's an indication to let you know. Slow it down, soften up, give yourself grace, right? And offer compassion some more, right? To yourself and others. Because I know we don't want to be sickly, right? We don't want to be sickly. We want to be well in this physical temple. We don't want to experience cancer, breast cancer. We don't want to experience ovarian cancer. We don't want to experience these things. We don't want to be ill. And then when these things show up in our body, it becomes this cycle. So the emotional, spiritual affects the physical, and then when we're afflicted physically, it affects our emotion and our spiritual experience, right? So where do we stop the cycle, right? One of the things we can do is return to indigenous culture that honors the balance between masculine and feminine. One of the things, we could definitely show a little more love and respect and care for that balance, within the earth, within ourselves, within our relationships. We offer more space, maybe give a little more attention, to your man. Maybe, serve his plate sometimes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. you know um for our boys, I'm working on that part, honestly. I'm working on that part because for my older children, I still have to kind of balance out. I feel sometimes I gotta balance out what they receive, so that they can have the balance of masculine and masculine and feminine, because I don't know what's going on with the other half. Um, big ups to people who function very well in separated families. You know what I mean? That they co-parent very well. I don't have that experience, so I can't speak to that, and that's why I say I don't know what's going on the other end. So it's my responsibility too to make sure that there's balance within my children, but also allowing my husband to take a role, to step up into his position in doing that. It allows me to. It's good because it allows me to step back and to be in my fullness as a woman, as mother and wife, right? So I kind of feel like I'm kind of, what's the word? Like I feel like I'm just going on, I'm kind of just talking too much now. So I'm just gonna pause for a second, and I'm going to remind you as women that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are capable, you are the water, okay? You are the water, you are the sun, you know what I mean? You are well. And it is good to know that there is strength in softness, that your honey attracts the bees, that it's good to allow them your partner, your husband, to take care of you. It's good to cater to him, because in turn he will cater to you. You know, um, Sometimes it's good to listen as opposed to always be the one talking. Sometimes we don't let our man talk. We don't let him get his point across. you know, um, it is vital to acknowledge him and uplift him, because he is up against a lot in the world. So he needs a safe space to return to at the end of the day. And he needs to leave, the home in strength, and, knowing that all is good at home, prepared, equipped nutritionally, physically, emotionally. And I understand that, men might not need too much of that emotion as women do, because we're definitely different beings, and a man's need is sex. Like, I get that. So, it's to our responsibility to balance that piece, and to make sure he's good. I know this bishop that says, do not allow your man to leave the house horny. Do not allow your man to leave the house, sexually frustrated, because he gonna find himself looking at every, ass that passes by. And now that is not to say that a man cannot have self-control, but if you're married, we got to balance that piece for him, right? And with a child, with a toddler, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, sometimes I'll be honest, like, I'm not, we don't, I don't do a great job there, but my husband's too working a lot. So we have to, each family has to find their own balance. Each family has to find what works for them, right? Or what is, be creative with time, you know what I mean? Be creative with, suggestions. But it has been a challenge, like these past 2 years, like, to maintain our romantic relationship. It's been a challenge because my husband works a lot and my toddler drains me a lot. And the nighttime, I'm still nursing, and it's a challenge, and that is just real. So sometimes we have to be fully conscious and intentional about our interactions, our intimate interactions with our man, you know um to make sure that he's good. And honestly, I think some women might take that the wrong way, because you know we are not just here to have sex with our man. Like, we're not just, like, we more than that, you know what I mean? But that is a part of it, and I think when that is balanced, like, we too will be good. Because there's a balance in all things. You know what I mean? Because we too need that kind of exchange. I like to say that women need intimacy. Yeah, men need sex, but women need intimacy, right? And it's kind of like moving away from the topic a little bit, but it kind of still isn't, because balancing the masculine and the feminine is knowing who we are and what we need to show up as we need to show up. You know what I mean? So when we are able to provide what our man needs, when there is effective communication, willfully, he should be able to provide us the intimacy that we need. So again, goes that cycle, the intimacy and the physical, the intimacy and the sexual, the intimacy and the creation, whether or not you're trying to make babies. But there's this creative energy that comes forward, and there's a release of pressure as well when we are able to balance each other out, because things can get difficult. They can get frustrating. There's a lot of people depend on you as a woman, and a lot of people depend on you as a man. So to be able to release the pressure that is needed, so we need to release the pressure, right? Because all this pent up energy, of responsibility, of what people need from me, of hustling, of handling our business, from taking care of the family, from paying bills, from living a spiritual life, from eating right, from making sure the information you intake is proper, and good for the goodie, for the body. You know what I mean? All of this takes a whole lot of effort. You know what I mean? From taking care of our family, for our extended family and our tribe. That takes a whole lot of effort. So sometimes we get a whole lot of energy pent up. You know what I mean? And it's like, if it don't get directed, it can be misdirected and show up, angrily, harshly. And if you're here now and that's happened to you, like, let me know, okay? I hope my son is still not on, but I'm going to just say something right quick. Okay. Like, I know that for myself, although I experienced a challenge in finding the balance with a toddler, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, I find it challenging sometimes to make sure that my husband is good physically, right? I need to do that. I need to balance him out, because if not, I'ma show up in a very angry way. Okay, I'm gonna start getting a little attitude here and there, and he'll say something like, "Oh, you need to take care. I need to take care of you." You know what I mean? Or we gotta take care of each other. You know what I mean? Because that energy has to be directed. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's like, "Man, let me see, just the juicy." It's like, man, like, yo, if that energy don't get directed, it can be misdirected. Okay, so again, returning to the balance of self, like know yourself, know yourself. Where is the anger coming from? Where is the harshness coming from? Where is the resentment coming from? And now, how can we redirect it? Where does it need to go? Who needs to receive it? What do we need to give to let it go? How do we release the pressure? And how do we give? You know, um, if there are some young, I say young, but like I'm about to be 42 this month. Yay! So anybody in the millennials age range, right? 20s, 30s. That's my youngest over there. Anybody in that age range, let me know how you feel about serving your partner. Let me know how you feel about taking care of him. And here comes my youngest. Hey, Jabari. That means my time is almost up. How you doing? Say peace. Say peace. No me jale el pelo. So, who? No, se acabó. Se acabó. Un momentito, ¿ok? Déjame mover esto un momentito, ¿ok? Voy a poner eso ahí. ¿Ok? Gracias. ¿Ah? ¿En la música? Okay. So, who of you have, espérate. Who of you have found your energy to be misdirected and showing up negatively in your relationships? Hmm? Okay. I got you. Yeah. And what did you do about it? Sorry, I got breastfeed. And I'm sorry, I don't really like my boob all up in the camera for social media, so I'm just gonna adjust a little bit, okay? Because I'm a little old school. I don't feel like there's a problem breastfeeding, but don't nobody else need to see my nipple, okay? Con permiso, mijo, deja. Excuse me, I guess your brother thinks otherwise. He's like, show your stuff, mommy, show your stuff. No. Yeah, so there's a reggae song. There's also an artist that speaks to Pressure Bus Pipe. Pressure, his name actually is Pressure, and the fullness is Pressure Bus Pipe, because pressure does bust pipe. Okay, and what is like that's too, it's too much. It's too much pressure. So yeah, so let's rewind a little bit and let's kind of recap a little bit, okay? Because I did go off on a little tangent. So the balance, mi amor, pero cómo va a ir al otro lado si tú acabas de comenzar en este lado, like otro lado, the other side. Eso es fuego, no para ti. So the recap, the balance, feminine balance is needed, right? The feminine balance is needed. Come on. We need to find ourselves in more softness and more grace. We need to offer softness and grace to our male counterpart, to our masculine counterpart. We need to allow the man to be a man, okay? And we live in a challenging time, because what does that mean? That idea is getting confused, or it's being redefined by many. But I like the traditional, man is, provider, is masculine, is, disciplinarian, is decisive, takes action. My husband takes action. He has to remind me sometimes that I need to take care of certain things because I'm all up in the celestials sometimes. And the feminine likewise, you know, is the softness, is the grace, is the connection with the emotion, is the intuition, you know. There is strength and power in both, right? Return to the indigenous respect of the masculine and feminine, understanding that there is masculine and feminine in all things. Honoring the masculine and feminine in all things. Recognize, take a good look at yourself, recognize and assess how your behaviors show up in your relationship to self and relationship to others. And if you find that you are exhibiting over masculinized qualities, if you're exhibiting too much harshness, and you find that you're not really getting good results, like that's a true indicator, right? That is not working. It's just not working, right? If communication with your partner is toxic, that's a good indicator to take a look at oneself, each male and female, you know. And this doesn't give the man like just a green light to just be harsh. Like that's just not what it's about either. It's totally about respect. Deja. ¿Qué tú quieres? Deja. Boy wants to take off my shirt. Like, chill. We don't do that. Okay? Deja, por favor. Ay, ay, ay. I gotta be assertive. Yeah, okay. So assess oneself and then maybe find in others that exhibit some softness that you might want to incorporate. So that you can have a balance within being assertive and being graceful, within being decisive and a go-getter, and also being intuitive, right? Tranquilo, tranquilo. He's not letting me live. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? And there ain't no shame in serving your man, right? So those that have been with me like throughout all of this just long reasoning, if you try, I encourage you to try something different this week, right? If it relates to your husband, you know, do something you haven't done for him in a while. You know, remember how you caught that big fish. You know, bring something into the relationship that you haven't done for a while. Something he likes. Yeah. And for yourself, right? Do something you love, right? Be in nature. Get a massage. Do your toes. You know what I'm saying? Take a bath. You know what I mean? Peace and blessings, sis. I'm about to sign off in a minute. Con permiso. Yeah, so in essence, find ways to establish balance within oneself. ¿Ya? ¿Sí? ¿Ya? To find balance. ¿El otro lado? No. ¿No? ¿Ya terminaste? ¿Ya terminaste? To find balance within yourself and in your relationship. Okay? So that we can honor each other as we are and the roles. Okay. So we can honor each other's roles in our relationship, you know? Yeah, so that's basically it. And sorry, I could be really long-winded sometimes. That's why I had to write a couple notes for myself. And then lastly, you know, we want to recognize that we're dealing with a lot of cultural, historical, and spiritual trauma over the years. So we want to recognize that and also uproot those elements that are over masculinized so that we can find balance within ourselves as women and show up within our true power. So we can show up within our true power. It's kicking the tripod. So we can show up within our true power, in our true strength, and so that we can also heal our womb. So we can release that heaviness from the heart. So we can allow the mind to be open and free. So our heart can be light as a feather. Must address that. Must touch on that. And so our womb can be a space that is able to create good fruits. All right, so that's it. Sorry I'm long-winded. Sorry I didn't let you know in advance I was coming on. But let me know how you feel. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if there's anything that resonated with you within this conversation. And give thanks for spending some time with me. Give thanks for those that interacted. Give thanks for those that joined in and that will join in. And I'll talk to you soon. Much love, much peace, and blessings. Till such time.